Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. This is Nathan Daley. I'm your law enforcement translator. 13 years law enforcement experience, you guys, here to give you insight on all things law enforcement. Now, I will have timestamps. Let me get the administrative stuff out the way. You guys, listen, thank you to my new subscribers. Welcome to this channel. You guys know we have in-depth conversation. We critically think. We dive deeper. We don't worry about the surface and shallow issues. We go beneath that. You guys, why is that? Because this is what's missing in this country. People are so easily swayed through emotions. I'm gonna do a special video about that. Emotional arguments. They solve nothing. They solve absolutely nothing. What are we talking about before we get into it? If you haven't already, please go to the community tab and vote. What are you voting on? Everybody wants to hear these stories, these crazy police stories that I have. Things that I've experienced. Go to the community tab, make sure you vote. Make sure you also go and vote for the holiday contest. Make your prediction, you guys. It closes December 26th. After that, I will cut off the comments, so you won't be able to put any of your predictions on there. So please go and vote. Now, as you guys don't know, tomorrow's Tuesday, 6 p.m., we will be doing a live stream about this case, about Daunte Wright, about Kim Potter. We're talking about law enforcement. We're talking about accidents. Who's to blame? Who's at fault? It's going to be interesting. Now, about this case, you guys, what's the issue? Kim Potter is on the stand. She's on the stand being cross-examined last week. What does she do? The defense's team, I don't like the angle. A lot of people on the outside are saying that the defense is mopping the floor with the prosecution. You guys, what you fail to realize is that it's not about what you say. It's about what makes sense. And the people who are watching are saying it doesn't make sense. It sounds good in theory, but they're looking at how it looks in practice. In practice, officers are supposed to be trained at a particular standard. There's no arguing that. 26 years. She carried the taser for over 19 years. How do you justify a mistake? Here's the thing. They are trying to justify it. They're trying to justify it instead of owning it. And I think this is where the confusion lies. She would have been better off owning her mistake instead of trying to justify it, because there's no justification. There's nothing that you can say. It's the same logic us officers use when we talk about criminals. We say, listen, you committed a crime. You got to go to jail. You got to go to jail. How do you justify being a criminal? You cannot. There is no legitimate justification of robbing another person, breaking into a car, breaking into a house. There's no justification for it. This is how officers think. This is why we could be so black and white. But the people are asking us to be in the middle, be understanding, show empathy. A lot of us don't. That doesn't make you a bad officer. It just means that you're disconnected. Kim Potter is asking people to be understanding, to just see what it's like, which I agree you have to see, but you have to own it. You have to own it. You have to own it and then say, in my error, in my honest mistake, in my poor judgment, I wasn't there, I wasn't present, my mind was gone, I messed up, you guys. I messed up, and I'm asking for you to be lenient. I'm asking for you to show me grace. That's the approach she should have took. What did she do that I didn't agree with? First, she cried on the stand. Come on, man. This is why that attempt to sway the jury into thinking that she was going through this emotional breakdown. The moment the prosecutor stood up and began speaking to her, she snapped out of it. Her sadness went away. This melancholy approach, this whole woe is me approach disappeared. It was almost like she was bipolar. She went in and out of the personality within a moment of seconds. There was something in Potter's eyes that I didn't like. When you look into her eyes, you see a woman that's deceptive. You see a woman who's intentionally trying to mislead. I don't like that, you guys. You know, people ask me, like, they say, hey, you've been beating up on the police lately. I'm not beating up on the police. I love the police. I told you guys from the very beginning, I'm pro-black. I'm also pro-law enforcement. When I look at this as like a family, I look at my relationship with law enforcement like a family. And it's like having that cousin. It's like having that cousin that just can't get right. Or that brother, that sister that can't get right. That auntie, that uncle that can't get right. And you call them out. And just because you call them out doesn't mean you love them any less. It just means that, hey, come on, you know better. You know better. And I think this is where we are. I'm listening to her. I'm looking at her. I know the job. I know the job. I've done it. She's done it longer than me. But this is the issue with time, you guys. Time does not equate quality, just like time does not equate maturity. And we're going to talk about that. Just because you've been on this earth for years doesn't mean you know a damn thing, right? Just because you've been an officer for 26 years means nothing. Listen, you guys, I know veteran officers that we would get calls of an armed robbery in progress, a burglary in progress, an assault in progress. And you know what they would do? They would hide behind a building as officers are flying by, trying to get there. We would get excited. We'd be on the radio, maybe typing up a report, eating. So it's like, oh, be advised, a bank robbery in progress. We're like, oh, let's go, right? Let's go, we're excited. You have some officers that are not. You have some officers that put on that uniform every single day, and they're professionals at avoiding situations that are dangerous. I say professionals, you guys. We call them RIPs, retired in place. You guys don't know anything about this profession. What you know is what you read about, what the media tells you. I'm here to give you insight. Here to give you insight. Shout out to TLA. He has this thing he says, and I agree with him 100%. When we talk about people who are qualified in this space to talk about certain things, listen, there's no one in YouTube, in this sector, on this side, that is giving you guys this level of information, that is willing to tell you the truth, give you insight. Not just that, you guys, who has the experience. I'm here to share with you. You guys don't know this stuff. You don't know it. And I'm telling you, there are issues, not the issues that you may think, right? So here's the idea. 26 years. The question is, what does her experience look like? What has she accomplished in that time frame? Or was she an RIP officer? Arresting in place, retired in place kind of officer? We don't know. We don't know. But why do I say that? I say that because the way she handled her weapon, the way she mistook her taser for her gun. When I told you guys that this is possible, a lot of people are like, I don't believe it. You don't believe it because you don't know. You don't know, you don't see it. You don't see the foolishness that happens behind the scenes. People talk about the blue curtain. It's not a blue curtain. The officers the organization just has been good at keeping their trash out of the media's attention. But see, that's not helping our situation because see, it gives the wrong impression. It gives this impression that officers are above mistakes, and we're not. The more you guys see how human we are, the better it will be for our relationship. This is the problem. We have to remove that. We have to remove that. If you guys haven't seen the radio interview that I did with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, please go and check that out. I'm going to do a video on that, but please check that out. So what are we talking about now? Experience is through acts and actions. That's how you learn. That's how you really learn. I would want to know, what area did Kim Potter work in? What type of crime was she involved in? What type of crime did she solve? How many altercations have she been in? She couldn't even tell us whether or not she actually shot her taser before or not. She said she couldn't remember. I can't recall. The prosecutor starts asking her questions about her experience, and because she knows the answer is going to make her look bad, she does not answer it. She lies. She becomes disingenuous. Why do I say that, you guys? This is what people don't like. We have to call it out. The prosecutor says, here's your taser, here's your gun. She said, one is yellow, correct? I guess so. She says, okay, well, your taser weighs less than your gun, correct? She says, I don't know. I don't know? Do you know how arrogant that sounds? What is a jury thinking when they hear her respond like that? Just a moment ago, you were crying. The prosecutor's talking to you, and now you act like you don't know anything. Ma'am, did you not just qualify for the use of your taser just a month ago? I suppose. Don't they teach you guys about weapon retention? Don't they teach you about how to distinguish between? Don't they tell you how important it is to make sure you draw proper? Don't they? She's talking about all these training questions. What does Potter say? She said, they didn't really teach us that. They didn't really. Ma'am, didn't you sign and say that you understood the dangers of mistaking your taser for the gun? I suppose so. You guys, I was furious. I was furious. Why? Because she's a representative of all police officers. She represents all police officers in the minds of the people, in the minds of the citizens. They look at her and they think we are all the same. They look at her and think we all think the same. No, I took my training very seriously, you guys. I took my training seriously. Every day. Here's the thing. Every day I got up, the prayers come out first, right? I put my belt on, I check all my equipment. Every single day. It wasn't a joke to me. I didn't get comfortable. What did she say that pissed me off? The prosecutor talked about testing of the taser every day. It's policy. We did it too. And you guys, I went through 3 different versions of the taser. What's the policy? You have to tase, you have to check the taser every single day. Why? It's a machine. It's a battery operated machine that produces electricity, right? It produces electricity. Every day before we start our shift, we have to run a test, cycle through the machine, make sure it's working, make sure our batteries are charged all the way. Make sure the cartridges are healthy. Why? It's a piece of equipment. It could save our life or save someone else's life. We have to make sure that it works. We would do gun inspections. We bring all our weapons in to the job, and the supervisor would check everything, make sure our ammunition is healthy, make sure the gun is healthy, make sure you can cycle through things properly. We do this. They make sure the gun is cleaned. We have to inspect these things. It's policy. What did they find out? That she wasn't even checking her taser. Who's to say in the moment she tried to use it on Daunte that it even worked? She wouldn't know. She hasn't even tested. She never tested it. That says a lot. It says a lot about her. It says a lot about the department. It says a lot about the shift that she works, about the supervision around her. We would sit down and roll call. I'll tell you guys what roll call is. It's that moment we come in the morning, we sit down amongst all of the shift members and we discuss things. We talk about training issues. We discuss any administrative things. And then we go through, hey, equipment inspection. Before we leave, check it. In my first department, we'd all pray before we go out on the road. We'd all pray protection over each other before we go out on the road. Equipment check, uniform. Hey, I need to see your uniform. I need to make sure you look appropriate when you step outside this building. Listen, you guys, I tell you and I'll tell you again, there's over 18,000 police departments. We are not all equal. The training I received is not training someone else would receive. There's a standard and then there's an above standard. You have a standard officer, then you have an above standard officer. You guys, listen, it's no different than any profession. These police departments are not uniformed. Judge them individually. Judge that officer individually. I was disappointed with her on the stand because she just couldn't be honest. She could not be genuine, be real. Because now I'm losing respect. Because here's the thing. The woman asked you about the weight difference between your gun and the taser, and you couldn't answer that. You couldn't answer that. Now, defense is talking to Potters and they're asking her questions to try to solidify their argument. Their argument is that even though she made a mistake, she was justified in that moment. No, you guys, she was not. You cannot deploy a taser when a person has physical control of the vehicle. If they're saying that Daunte did not have physical control over the vehicle, then she tased him or wanted to tase him, then she's also admitting that there was no imminent fear, imminent threat for great bodily harm or death on those officers. Why? In her mind, analyzing the situation, the totality of everything, she's already come to a conclusion that this level of force required to simply stop this situation, to subdue him, is taser worthy, not her gun. How do you make such a backwards argument? Here's the trick bag that the defense put themselves in and created this chaos of an argument. You can't tase a person in a vehicle. He had physical control. How? He's in the driver's seat. The car is on. His hands are near the steering wheel. That's physical control, you guys. She's not authorized to shoot him at all with anything. With anything. But now, she says in her mind, he did not have it. This is the defense. He had no physical control. So the taser is authorized. The gun is authorized. Poor argument. Very poor argument. It sounds good in the ears of those who don't know what they're talking about. It sounds good to the ears of those who want to see her free, who don't want her convicted. But the truth, what does the evidence say? The evidence is very clear. The policy is very clear. We have to stop dancing around this. This is what people don't like. This is not helping. This is not helping the argument of officers. In this country, we have to be honest. We have to be honest. So, she said that she looked in Sergeant Johnson's eyes and saw his fear. See, now you're backpedaling. Now you're moving the goalpost. I saw the fear in his eyes. He was in fear. No, he was in control. Sergeant Johnson was in control. Why is that? The man went in, manipulated the key, manipulated the gear shift. He had two hands on Daunte's arm. He was pulling at him. He had him. He had him. There was no fear. You shot him. And before Daunte drove off, Sergeant Johnson got out the car and he shut the car door. There was no fear in that man. He had himself under control. The only person out of control, the only person in fear was you. Why do I say that? The prosecutor shows the video of her walking up to the car. Before Daunte even gets out the vehicle, she had already popped the snap of her gun. She already released the lever off of the holster to her gun, you guys. What's going on in here? This is the problem. We're not examining her train of thought. Her fear level kicked in. I'm gonna tell you why it kicked in. The warrant in reference to the gun, that triggered her mind. That aroused her fear. I'm telling you what it is. She was scared the moment she stepped out that car. She was scared. Even though no threat presented itself. She walks up to the car and she pops the lever off the holster so that she can draw her weapon. In her mind is already, that's her muscle memory. When she feels scared, she goes directly to her gun, not towards the logic, not through analyzing the situation. You guys, the problem with this profession is it's a cognitive level skill set. You gotta pay attention. You have to think. This is a thinking profession, not a reaction. You can't react. You have to respond. You can't allow your emotions to take you over because you make mistakes. The power of emotions, you guys. The powers of emotion. She popped her gun before she even made contact with the driver. What does that say? I love what the prosecutor, she sticks to the training. The training is so imperative, you guys. She was trained to be a hostage negotiator. Listen, this is one class that I had signed up for. I never got a chance to go to because it's one of those things they only put on like once a year. I wanted to be a hostage negotiator so bad, so bad. You guys, it's something about that. I love being able to serve and help others, being able to talk people down. I understand people very well, very well. You know, I've had to talk someone out of committing suicide before. You feel good when you can do it, when you knew you helped someone, when you help. And I've tried to speak to people before, and then a couple of days later come back and they took their life. You guys, that's another thing. Mental health, right? Mental health. So the prosecutor talks about her training as a hostage negotiator. This is why I'm so disappointed in Kim Potter's, because as the prosecutor talks about it, Kim Potter's tries to downplay it, right? Because the prosecutor is saying, listen, you know how to de-escalate situations. You have training on it. Not just any training, hostage training. And you mean to tell me that the decision in the moment that you were in, you decided to go for your taser, mistook it for the gun? What type of hostage negotiator are you? But Kim tries to downplay the training. It wasn't really like that. What? They didn't really teach us any real scenarios. What? See, that's what I'm saying, man. You know, what do you do when you have an officer that lacks integrity? No integrity. Can't be honest. Can't be genuine. You messed up. Just say that. The prosecutor lands another death blow to Potter's statements. What does she say? Again, it's about the use of the taser. She pulls up records showing that Potter's had pointed her taser before in 2 incidents where there was an officer struggling with another person. Mind you, what did she say? You have a situation where an officer was trying to arrest a suspect and the suspect was besting the officer. Potter's was never hands-on. This is a pattern. You start to see that she doesn't get her hands dirty. She doesn't get her hands. Those are the worst kind of officers. Afraid to use their hands. Afraid to use their hands. 2 occasions, officers are struggling and fighting with someone else. There's always Officer Potter's there pulling her taser. She said she pulled her taser and pointed it, but never pulled the trigger. So the prosecutor asked why. Why would you not pull the trigger if you're justified? She said, I did not want to hit my fellow officer. How does that look? In that moment, high stress situation, you have an officer fighting with a suspect. You're there, your hands are free, you draw your taser, and you refuse to shoot because you're afraid you might hit your officer. The prosecutor compares and say, well, here's the same exact situation, but you pulled the trigger this time. And you got it wrong because you had your gun in your hand. She plays back the video in slow motion. Potter's had a piece of paper in her right hand the entire time, holding on to it. As she's trying to get around Officer Lucky and reach to Daunte, she's still holding on to the piece of paper. This is bad training, you guys. Her mind was stuck. She's too old, right? We start looking at, hold on, are you even mentally, psychologically in the right mindset to can you do this job, to do this job right? We don't talk about those things. Officers get burned out. Officers get burned out. Was she burned out? Right? We don't know. That could have been a good argument to make. That could have been a good argument to make. She completely failed, you guys. She's holding a piece of paper. She's fumbling around. She never dropped the paper. She's not used to using her hands. She's not used. Why? It's that fear. It's the fear. You know, when I first started, we didn't have tasers. We had pepper spray and we had a baton, or the nightstick they like to call it. And then we had a gun. That's it. We had 3 weapons and we had these. All right? I can count how many times I used my baton. I used my pepper spray a lot. I used to be spraying folks. I love the pepper spray. That's another story. As you guys know, that's actually one of the stories you guys voted for. How I sprayed myself. Lord have mercy. Or how I got spray on my eyes, my own spray. We didn't have tasers. We didn't have them. If you wanted to catch someone, you had to earn it. You had to go after them. You had to put your hands on them. And as officers, you get that moment. We all have that moment in our profession where someone turns around and says, okay, I'm not going to jail. See, that's when the job really starts, right? That's when it really starts. When someone looks you in your eyes and say, I'm not going back. Now what? And that's when I put on my gloves. I'm like, yes, sir. All right. Okay. But like, I get on the radio, start me the ambulance. Because I know where you're going to end up having to go. And then we'll go to jail. You guys, this is real. This is real. Radio, can you send me the medics to this scene? Start me an ambulance. Because someone's going to get hurt and it's not going to be me, you guys. They'll turn around and tell you that. So what is going on here? What are we seeing? What are you guys witnessing? What you're witnessing, and even throughout this trial, people who came in, we had one expert witness who came in who was really siding on her, which I didn't agree with the things that he was saying. And here's the issue with these expert witnesses. There was one expert witness, I'm not going to talk about him much, but he was 100% correct. He was 100% correct. That's how I was trained. And understanding that you can train someone to avoid accountability, or you can train someone to accept accountability. And I think this is where we're going to draw the line in the sand. Officers, why do officers resort to this self-preservation, you guys? Nobody wants to go to prison, right? You have good intentions. I think what happens is you have officers who do this job and they have good intentions. And then you have a criminal who's been doing crime over the last half of their life, and then you get in trouble, right? You make a mistake trying to make an arrest with someone, and then as the person with the good intentions, you end up losing your freedom behind it. No one likes that. And there's a group of people in this country who are saying, listen, why should this criminal life matter more than an officer's life? You guys, this conversation gets deep. I'm going to dive you into a little bit of how officers think. You have some officers who have the mindset of, it doesn't really matter. Why should a good person have to suffer because of a bad person? This person had good intentions. They made an honest mistake. This person is a bad person. You guys, it's not about that. You have some officers who think on a very shallow emotional level, and they themselves lack the logic and understanding of the power that they possess, the level of responsibility that they have. That's not a good justification. I understand what you were saying as officers because I understand it myself. I've done the job. That ideology is dangerous. That ideology is what people don't like. We can't think like that. Though I understand that ideology is dangerous, because then we get into this mode as officers, as self-preservation. By any means necessary, I cannot get in trouble. Why should my kids have to suffer? Why should my livelihood have to change? Why should my freedom be taken? And this man is a criminal. He has shot people. He has robbed people. He doesn't listen to authority. He was trying to resist arrest. Okay, he accidentally died. Okay. I get it. He accidentally died. But I'm the good person. Why should I and my family suffer? I was doing the right thing. been doing the right thing all my life. I made an honest mistake. Should my world be changed from some scumbag, right? This is the thoughts of not just officers, but people. Of people. I understand what you're saying. I get it. I get it. But I don't agree with it. Right? I don't agree with it. The purpose of this channel is to provide insight. You guys don't know this. It doesn't make sense. I'll make it make sense. You know, people ask, they want predictions. Everybody wants predictions. You guys, listen. It's not about predictions. It's about what the truth is. The truth is, what she did was not acceptable. She violated her own policies. She went on the stand. She was disingenuous. She wasn't honest. She's trying to preserve self. It's her versus him. He's no longer here. Why should I suffer? What's the mindset? There's a saying from this movie, Batman, right? I'm a Batman fan. He said, and I felt this in the theater, you guys. I felt this in the theater. What did they say? They're talking about the relationship Batman has with the people. He's a vigilante. He operates outside of the law, his own understanding of what justice is. They say he's no different than the criminals. Why? Because he doesn't follow law. Just because his outcomes may be good, he doesn't follow law. Why is that a problem? He makes a mistake, people see it. Now, he's not so good anymore. People are selective. He's a vigilante. What do they say? The dangers of being a crime fighter. It's the liability, you guys. I was sitting in the theater, and when this came out, me and my brother actually went to go watch it. Huge Batman fan. He said, he's talking about being a crime fighter, being a hero of justice. How fragile that is. The thin blue line is what we say in law enforcement. It's thin. It's a thin line between bad and bad. It's right in the middle. It takes a strong person to stay right in the middle. What do they say? You either die being a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. You guys, there's so much truth to that. Powerful statement. Powerful statement. You guys, that's it. That's our breakdown on the cross-examination. Let's stay tuned for these closing arguments, as you know they are today. We'll see, right? We'll see. The jury, I know, saw all through the BS. I believe she'll be convicted, you guys. As we know, it was an honest mistake. I truly believe it was. But I think her biggest detriment was that she didn't own it. She didn't own it. I think that would have been the proper way to go about it. I believe people would have saw her sincerity if she was going to be sincere. I think what people are going to see that she tried to mask it, hide it by being disingenuous. And it's not going to float. And it shouldn't float. So with that being said, you guys, thank you. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. And as you know, we live stream tomorrow. So stay tuned. 6 o'clock. Come with your questions and your concerns. Let's have a healthy discussion. With that, you guys, good night. God bless.